It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in on a very important topic when it comes to understanding the feeling or experience of being manipulated or targeted by a psychopath, someone who lacks conscience, someone who lacks a sense of morality, someone who is highly manipulative, someone who is cunning, someone who is sly, slyer than your average Joe, your average Sally. They're doing things that are in violation of regularly known and observed and respected standards. In other words, what you might consider common sense. One would not do that. We would not go there. We would not violate that boundary. We would not go against this. We would, we would keep things in a balance, and we are not, acting out of impulsivity or rashness or on the penchant for high risk behaviors, things that are known to cause trouble, cause mayhem, cause, pain to others or sabotage of oneself. Or the sabotaging of oneself basically means getting in trouble, getting called to task, violating the law, etc. And so when we look at understanding this, especially the propensity to be irresponsible and not take responsibility and accountability for oneself and one's actions, it's very interesting to look at studies and the science of this. Studies have shown that and this is like a little bit of science, so you'll understand the wiring difficulties or differences in the brain matter of the psychopath. The connection between the ventral striatum and the ventral medial prefrontal cortex are much weaker in those individuals who test high on psychopathy versus than the normal. And the ventral medial prefrontal cortex is important for what they call basically time travel in this scientific research. In other words, thinking about the future consequences of your actions. And so they will tend to overestimate the immediate rewards and the value of that as it is compared against and neglect, future consequences or of the immoral acts. In other words, they're only looking right in front of their nose. They're only looking at the current payoff. They're not worried or looking at the long-range consequences of their behavior. They're very much on that dopamine reward. Just as long as I can get what I need right now, that's all that matters, regardless of the consequences, regardless if they're violating the law, going against, corporate regulation, going against a spousal relationship, going against a sibling, going against a community, breaking the law, things that are to be observed and respected. Otherwise, if not, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be called to task. And so there is actually a wiring and firing as well as a difference in the hormones of these individuals. It's felt that there's to be a high level of testosterone, which leads to aggression, and then a high sensitivity to dopamine, which means the reward chemical. So they're 5 times greater in the reward that they get from doing these illicit acts. In other words, they're going to go for what they want, and they don't care what they do to get it. They don't care if their story doesn't, if it's not abiding by a rule or a law. They're just going to do it. And you cannot win with these people. The psychopaths will always speak of things in reference to the win. And they will cause you to trip your words, trip your tongue, trip your understanding because of this. Psychopaths will also, when you're in the thick of it, it can be very confusing, but they are very enigmatic, meaning mysterious. They'll say things just out of the blue, random, out into the air, and it's going to be distracting. It's going to cause you to turn your head. A lot of people, and then that coupled with the psychopathic stare, a lot of people take this for another who is being interested in them. And so those individuals who are either naive about this will basically then get swept up by this and not know what happened to them. So they'll be like, I have never cheated on my wife, but here comes this. I have always saved for my kids' education, but I gave it all away to this person. I know better than this, but I did this. So it's all these different things which, people are looking at it and reflecting back. I don't know why this was out of character. This was incorrect. And so they have this whole self-doubt hashing. It's a very, very, it's like a cocktail of your own neurochemicals and your own thinking thought process, which is really messed up. It gets very, very scary too when you feel like you can't think on your feet or be yourself or just be at peace. So number one you have to do is just be calm. And your astramations, if you're in the thick of it, I understand. It is a very, very scary place to be. It's like emotional lava. You don't know if you're ever going to get out. All you know is that it hurt, it burns. You can't be yourself. You can't, feel how you want to feel. It's very, very scary. You're experiencing like cognitive dissonance, and it's also this trepidation that they will set others on the course to, because they know. And people say, do they know that they're psychopathy? That they're psychopathic. They unequivocally do. They know that they perceive things and do things differently. They know that but their speech will give them away. And so to understand, their and that's when you really study it, when you really have worked and studied and know this and have looked at the science, etc., and the feedback from these individuals or those individuals who've gone in relationships, you will really, really become finely tuned to when you're in the presence of these individuals. It will become, you'll be able to sense it. You will know this. It's a knowledge. It's a wisdom. And so to understand the why that has created the effect, the fact that these people are, they're always going for what they want. They seem to not, and this oftentimes can be very attractive to people. The fact that they're not upset about certain things that normally would be upsetting. The fact that they can do things that most people would feel anxious of. The fact that they, are swept off their feet because they talk so much about themselves and they want to just bask in this person and their stories. These are all indicators for you to understand the impulsivity and how they love bomb people, and they get you out of sync with your own feelings, with your own hormones. When you're engaging with someone who has this disorder and the sickness and this pathology, when you come up against it, you are going to you're going to feel a sense of disease or pathology or this tension. And you're going to experience this psychological feeling of upheaval or being psychologically lost, disconnected, out of your body, not feeling at peace, feeling a very PTSD. You're feeling like you can't leave the house. You're feeling scared. You're uncomfortable around people. You feel highly sensitive. You don't want to be touched anymore. You don't want to be looked at. You're like in an underground. You just want to hide. The feeling of wanting to hide is very important. And so to the reaction. So if you've felt this, and then you can kind of see your natural self-preservation mechanism, which is trying to get you to protect. So it's like the body's way to protect itself and defend itself. That's how serious it is. And so when I understand that you don't want to fight or more engage or spend more time, with these people. And so I would highly recommend, once you can understand this, let them go, purge them from your system, so you're not, you're not feeling bad about yourself, or you're not still entrenched or entrapped in what they've done. Because I think the saddest thing is the amount of time that people spend in the analysis of trying to figure out, or learn about what happened to them, and learn about, and they're spending so much time hashing out when they could just, once they let it go, they can see the forest for the trees. This person is like, it's like a looming black, it's just like they've got blinders on for their whole life. It's like they've got these emotional sunglasses which darken everything, and you're not even seeing the good people, the smiles, the opportunities. You're not taking, you've become brainwashed by the negativity. And these are the people who will say, well, I'm never negative. And yet look to the contrary. It's a mind twist. Everything is distorted. So it's very important to come out of that distorted reality and not engage face to face with these people. Do not give them eye contact. Don't absorb their energy, because it is highly toxic. Toxic meaning sick for the energy, your emotions. And so you can't feel bad about about disengaging from them. So if that has kept you stuck and kept you in that limbo, or kept you still feeling hurt or wounded, I would recommend getting really clear on the fact that you have encountered a very harmful person, harmful energy, and how important it is then to know that it's not your average person who is hurtful. It's a really kind of on a quantum level. It's a interspecies predator. So in other words, it's trying to take the life energy out of humanity. It's kind of like hosting a parasite or an invader. They really much will invade others' energetic space to the core, to the spirit. And so if you've encountered this, don't feel alone. Don't feel that you're never going to emerge from this. You will. Time will heal this. Work the tools that we discuss here on this channel. That's the whole reason for this resource. And do not blur the lines between you and this individual. There has to be a very, very clear disconnect between you and this person. And if you've felt a very clear disconnect, then you know you're in the presence of someone who does not have your best interest in mind, but has some of this other darker, denser energy, which is sly, manipulative, violating of boundaries, and has a high propensity to violate common sense boundaries, and is aggressive, pushy, and will take what they want without regards for the consequences. So it's that short-term sort of, let's do this now, and you're still like, well, why aren't we responsible about this? How come this never happened? It is because that's how the thinking is not in positive, orderly direction thinking in these people. So there's a disconnect in how they think and then how the mass or norm of society is. So these individuals, remember, they're only about 1%, 1 to 4% of society. So remember, begin to look back at the bigger picture of life, and breathe and exhale and just let them dissipate. You have the power within you, and validate yourself. Use the tools that we recommend here on the channel. But begin to identify why you have felt so convoluted in your thinking, or gotten caught up in the analysis, gotten caught up in the recovery, why it's taking so long, why especially your thought patterns have been twisted to the self-doubt. That is the key. You need to get out of that self-doubt and, reaffirm once again, I feel magnificent. I feel wonderful. I am encountering the good life now. Really begin to, cast that energy away. You have the strength. You have the burning desire. You have the authenticity within you, and begin to reach out and validate that within yourself, and then also with other people. Begin to validate and speak to life, not only your positive things, but what you want. Begin to, speak out into existence that which you desire, which is positive, and focus on that. And even if this is a challenge for you, then I will challenge you to take care of yourself and not worry about the negative energy and all the different momentum that had been sort of damaging you in that relationship. Begin to disengage from the words stated, the looks, really remove them, because if you continue to memorize and then recall a lot of the negativity, then you're reaffirming you're still in a traumatic bond with them, and you really need to stop that habit of thinking, Begin to see yourself as independent and autonomous and not affected, not engaging, not part of this person. It's very important for you to get to see yourself as that, and then move forward with yourself as one whole feeling, loving human being. It's you. Let's talk about you. Stop, see how much you can stop thinking about what happened and then this and that, because then they're really just taking up more space in your own psychology. It's like it's like the emotional real estate. You're allowing the vandal to just stay there and set up camp where they don't belong. They don't fit in there. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.